2 videos in 2 days. What's going on there, eh? Hello. So, we've got our tier list, as you can see. It's the modern version of this has sort of come from iDubbbz, as I understand it, when he did his fast food tier list, and everyone's kind of gone off that. This site has come into existence, Tier Maker, and Mysterious Swede, also known as AI Swede on Twitch, has made this sort of War Thunder version of it, I guess. Mysterious Swede. Yeah. So, ground maps. Everyone's got their own kind of their own kind of designation, I guess, for doing all these. Of the ones that I've seen, they're all quite different, but I'm sticking with the usual Japanese video game SABC, which as I understand it comes from the Japanese schooling system. It's what's it called? Shiu, I don't know. It stands for exemplary, excellent, 90 to 100% is what S means. If you didn't know, bit of trivia. I imagine most people did know. And yeah, so people have started doing this, and I thought I'd jump on the train and give my opinions. So, here we go. Modsduck. I mean, I'm quite a fan of Modsduck. I think it's reasonably balanced. It plays quite well, but with 1.85, the helo spawns for the northern team being behind the spawns of the southern team, have definitely sort of taken it down in my estimations a bit. The spawn camp situation that happens at the end of this map is quite bad. But yeah, in terms of actual playability, I think it's quite good. It's mostly sort of longer range shots and then a brawler in the middle, I'd say. I'll just whack it in 8 here. Normandy. Normandy's quite nice, although I feel like I don't know. I'm a fan. I play it. I like it. I don't have much to say about it. You know, it's a town. It's balanced. It's symmetrical, which is something that I like about maps. You know, there is symmetry to it. The caps are varied and distinct. There's the flanky bit down the south by the hangar that annoys me a bit. I'll write that in B. No, A. This is my first time ever doing one of these tier lists, so you might have to bear with me. Fields of Normandy. Fields of Normandy is lovely, although the spawn-to-spawn shooting is a thing. You know, the not necessarily spawn-to-spawn shooting, but like you can, if you are on the eastern team, you can shoot into the spawn of the western team quite quickly. The flanky route around the north is a bit gamey. All in all, though, quite decent. Oh, keep it B. Poland, one of the first maps to come in. Poland's nice. I like Poland. Again, it's, you know, it's balanced. It's your typical sort of fight around the middle of a town. The northern cap zone, the southern cap zone, and the central cap zone all give distinct kinds of gameplay that you can use to your advantage, I guess. I think S tier because Poland is a good example of what a map should be. You know, there's not too much gamey shit going on, and it's yeah, it's decent. Fields of Poland. I like for high tier. But I wouldn't say that it's particularly good for low tier. I don't know what tier Fields of Poland shows up at, but yeah, give them a B. Because you can get some like long snipey stuff going on, and it's lovely for CAS because it's so wide open. Novorossiysk is going straight into S tier. Oxy kind of opened my eyes on this one, that it's got basically 3 maps in one. So you have the northern section, the central section, and the southern section that all show up on different layers. And you know, that kind of versatility is what you should be aiming for in a map. I think it's got a lot of replayability simply because it's got all these different layers and positions that you can go to. Yeah, El Alamein, I like it, but I don't like it, you know, too much. I think the southern, not the southern part, the western part of the map is kind of underused. Although, again, it's got multiple layers, right? So, you know, there's multiple sort of areas of the map that show up in different rotations. I wouldn't say it's as good as Novorossiysk, but I'll whack it in A, I think. Small Sinai. Small Sinai is decent. There are some underused parts of the map, like in between the central spawn and the southern team. There's this sort of big chunk of dead ground that nobody ever really uses unless you're rushing B. Fuck, I feel bad putting these maps down in like C passable and oh Christ and because they're all decent, you know. I don't know. God, give him a B. I'm quite positive about maps in general. So like, as far as I'm concerned, all of these are good. SABC, they're all good. You know, and then you've got you know, Sands of Sinai. Sands of Sinai. Somewhat imbalanced, because if you're moving for the C cap, you're going to get sniped from the people on the hill to the west of the A cap, and ultimately, if you control the hill at the A cap, you control the map. Like, there are so many snipey spots that you can use to dominate both the other cap zones. I don't think that it's particularly even as a map. I'm going to whack that impassable. Fuck knows. Oh god. See. Stalingrad. I'm not particularly fond of Stalingrad. I mean, I'll play it, but there's not a map that I won't play. But I just don't think that it's got much going for it, to be honest. I mean, the terrain, not the terrain, the chunks of metal sticking out of the ground that you can and can't run over, and it's kind of arbitrary. Like, you can crush a big staircase, but you can't crush, you know, you can't drive over a little pole sticking out of the ground. I'm gonna whack that impassable. Sands of Tunisia. Sands of Tunisia is mostly sim map. I've only seen it in custom battles and sim. When I've played it in sim, it's really nice. You know, it's unique. I like the big versions of maps. Like the big Mozdok that you see in sim is also fucking brilliant, but we never see it in the RB rotation. We need, like, all of these maps have multiple layers that you barely ever see in the RB rotation that I would very much like to see in the RB rotation, but they're not there at the moment. I'm gonna pop that in B. Tunisia itself, I'm a fan of. I like the amount of micro terrain and places that you can sort of go hold down in the center of the map. A nice, behind the sea cap there's not much going on, but it's not on the north side. And the spawn lock for the southern team can get quite bad towards the end of the game. C. No, B. A. Fuck. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done one of these before. Abandoned Factory. I love Abandoned Factory. That's going straight into S tier. It's again, it's got a lot going for it. You know, it's I want to draw the comparison to Alaska, because Alaska, as you drive into the middle of the map on Alaska, there's that many angles and sort of places that you can sort of, you know, get side shots on people that it gets a bit frustrating. Abandoned Factory kind of has that, but I don't know, I feel like it's got more counterplay to it. I like the later sections of the map when you're sort of trotting about the shop trying to sort of, you know, recoup your cap points. I like maneuvering north and south. Something that a lot of War Thunder maps have is, you know, you have the spawns kind of like this opposite each other, and then the cap zones perpendicular to that, so across the center, which I'm not sure, like Italy is the perfect example of it. Italy has it terribly, where you know, you spawn on opposite sides and then you have to kind of unflank yourself constantly. As you're moving between the cap zones, you're basically exposing one of your flanks to the enemy spawn all the time. Like, unless you're backing up, and you know, you always have to put yourself in a position where you're driving across where the enemy's coming in. Say you cap the northern cap on Italy and you're moving towards the middle cap, you know, the enemy's got all that flanking shot on you from their spawn as they're driving into the map. As they're coming into the battlefield, they're getting flank shots, which I'm not, that's not really how I think the game should be played, you know. And Abandoned Factory doesn't have that too much, just because of the way that it's designed, but it's definitely a problem on Alaska. It's definitely a problem on Italy. You know, there are some, Ardennes doesn't really have it. At least it doesn't seem like it happens too much, because everyone seems to go in, you know, sort of A, B, and then move towards C. I feel like maybe it's just the way that it's spaced out. It doesn't happen as much, but yeah, it's a problem on Alaska, which we'll come to. But Abandoned Factory is one of those perpendicular maps that doesn't have that problem, which, you know, I like. Advance the Rhine. Advance the Rhine, S tier. It's nice close quarters fighting. You know, it's knife fights in between buildings. It's good at low tier. It's good at high tier, well, mid tier. It's good at high tier. It's great at high tier. Knife fighting with, you know, leopards and Abrams and stuff a couple of 100 meters apart from each other in between buildings is great fun. It's also particularly forgiving for a cast pilot, because you can fly like nice and low, and the buildings around all of the SPAA will obscure you. So, you know, you can sort of pop up attack quite easily. If you know where the enemy is, if you know they're on a particular cap zone, you can fly low and then pop up over the buildings, hit the target, and then drop back down and be out of the way of the SPIA. Alaska, there we go. Alaska, I'm not fond of. I'm going to put Alaska in, oh God. I'm going to put Alaska in, oh Christ, here. Excuse me. Alaska, obviously being the most recent map, I don't get it. There's big unused swathes of the map. You know, there's basically like a fifth of the map on either side. So, you know, 2/5 of the map just aren't really used unless you want to go on like a super flank or out into the river. I feel like it's kind of lanes into the middle. The A cap favors people sitting back behind it. It favors people looking through the cap towards people moving towards it. So, you know, if you take a favorable position, you can kind of shoot through the trees at people, and unless those people are moving in their scope, you know, or in their driver view, their camera position is high up enough that they're not seeing beneath, you know, beneath the tree level, so to speak. So it favors the static player along that cap zone. C, you have to expose yourself to drive into. I feel like if there's no way to get to a cap covered, really, then you know, I'm not too fond of it. But you know, B cap, again, there's a lot of places that you can drive in there and expose yourself to a flank shot unwittingly. There's a lot of places that can be held just purely for the sake of having campy flank shots on people. I'm not a fan of it. It's a nice concept, you know, nice city fighting. I had hoped that it would be more like Advance of the Rhine, but as this patch has gone on, I've not improved my opinion of it at all. American Desert. I'm going to put in C. I'm a fan of American Desert. I like the design of the map. I like how it plays. I like it at top tier, but there's the spawn zone, the protected spawn zone is so unequal for both teams, right? So the northern team has this massive rocky, you know, mess of all these rocks that they can push through, and it's all spawn protected. The southern team can't drive in there, whereas the southern team just has a car park and some rocks that they can be locked into. You know, those are their only choices for spawning. And the big version of American Desert is so much bigger. The original map of American Desert, it was kind of like a desert with a town in the middle. You could drive to the town when you look at the bigger version of the map. I'll try and find a photo. I'll put it up here if I can find one. Yeah, like, it's just not. The city fighting is good. The cap positions are broadly okay, and I like the play around the C cap, where you can kind of shoot through all these, like, you know, thinly skinned buildings and you know, rag people who think they're protected. I like that aspect of it. I just don't like that it's so much smaller than it could be, especially considering it's played a lot at high tier. You know, when these vehicles are moving, like, you know, 50, 60, 70 kilometers an hour, they could do with being bigger. Ardennes, I am a fan of. I think I've said that for most maps now, haven't I? Ardennes, I like the colour scheme. I like the building fights. I like how the town is laid out. I don't know. I like all of it. I'm gonna put it in A actually. Plop it up there. Ash River. Ash River, you know, one of the OG maps. If not, I'm not sure if it is initial release map, but it's definitely one of the original ones. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. It used to be better. I feel at some point they changed it and it got worse, but I can't remember how, which seems strange to say. I can't remember what has changed about this map to make it different, but it's got something that I'll come to when I speak about Folder is the sort of lanes thing. So you have these perpendicular cap maps, but you have lanes. So, you know, there's an A cap lane, there's a B cap lane, there's a C cap lane. Ash River definitely has that, which I'm fond of. I like that you can choose, okay, I'm going to go to the A cap or whichever cap it is on the hill, and you're kind of limiting your fight to that hill. You know, you go to the cap in the middle, you're kind of limited. It's kind of like steps, isn't it? It's like high step, mid step, low step. If you're in the low area of the map, you can't really be seen by the people on the top end of the map, which kind of frees up when it's lanes like that instead of just a big block like Italy. It kind of frees up the teams to, you know, if you've got a stronghold on one of the sides of the map, you can hold that a lot easier without necessarily succumbing to people flanking all the way across as much. So like with Italy, you know, you can have as strong of a hold as you want on A, but you're still going to get unflanked from everywhere. With Ash River and Fulda and things like this, if you have, you know, strong positions on a certain cap zone, the enemy's going to come from more predictable routes because they can't come from everywhere. You know, if they can't come down to C from immediately across from C because the castle's there, and, you know, unless they fall off the castle and slam themselves onto the road, it doesn't work out quite as well. So I'm more of a fan of that than I am the other perpendicular maps. There are definitely differences between them. Hürtgen Forest. Hürtgen, I'm not a fan of the hill. I mean, there's multiple layers of Hürtgen, right? The smaller Hürtgen that just focuses on the town. If it just focused on the town, I'd be happy with that. I'm not too fond of the sort of super flank side shot gameplay that comes from Hürtgen, where, you know, when people go up to the hill to the north or into the forest to the south. But I'm not particularly fussed on that. But the sort of pitched battles, the hold down battles that you can have when it's just the one cap in the north, and the sort of fighting in between trees on the south side on the single cap map to the south, I'm fond of both of those. But the single cap one definitely lends itself to spawn killing as well, especially for the eastern team. The eastern team will definitely get spawn camped quite a bit. So pop it in B. Berlin. Berlin, I like, but I'm not particularly fussed on. I think it's another one that's quite easy to lock people into spawns, and it always seems to turn into a bit of spawn killing at the end. You know, moving your tanks up and down the river is not a fun experience because you get so bogged down. There's all these little stupid bits under bridges, and bombs are unreliable in the river. I don't know. I like how it plays, but I'm not overly fussed on it. I'm gonna pop that in passable. Carpathians one that I don't see anymore. I don't even know how much it gets played anymore because I don't really play low tier that much. You know, I play like 5.7 and up, and mostly on the up end of that. But I was never too fussed on it. I'm gonna pop that in C. Vietnam Hills. Vietnam Hills is definitely an map because it's just fuck. I'm not a fan at all of the Vietnam map. There's not much I can say positive about it. It's just That's all I can say. Eastern Europe, A tier. No, actually Eastern Europe S tier and European Province A tier. I like both of them. I like them, you know, I like how competitive they are. I like that it's one cap after another cap after another cap, kind of like the middle of Hürtgen. Obviously there are things that detract from Hürtgen, but the ABC sequential cap zones where one team gets one cap, the other team gets the other cap, and then there's a brawl over the middle cap. Those maps I think are the most balanced. Eastern Europe obviously still has the smaller version, obviously still has these sort of go wide flanky routes, but I think you're a lot more exposed when you try and do that on Eastern Europe, whereas with some other maps like Hürtgen you can kind of do it in cover. Obviously when you go up to the hill on the north of Hürtgen you're not particularly covered, but for the most part I think you're more exposed. If you try and flank around the south side on straight up Eastern Europe, you're gonna have a bad time, I guess. The city fights are good on you know, one cap. I'm a fan of battle. It does end up in a bit of a cast spawn kill once one team is pushed, but I think most maps do to an extent. It doesn't feel that bad, but it feels notable. Finland. Finland's a weird one because I think it's got the lanes aspect that I was talking about, but I don't think it pulls it off particularly well. I don't know. I mean, you can still drive across the middle of the map. I'm going to pop that in C. Frozen Pass I have no strong opinion of. I'm not overly positive or negative about it. It just exists. Passable. Fulda S tier, and that's probably going to be quite contentious. But the Fulda as a map, as a top tier map, I should say. Like I don't think it would be particularly fun with like all super low speed vehicles. But it's a modern map anyway, right? It's got fucking It's got fucking wind turbines on it. You know, what? You shouldn't be playing that with 1930s, 1940s tanks. Wind turbines. But no, I am a fan. I'm a fan of Fulda. I really like the sort of the counterplay between the cap zones. I like the amount of options that you have. If you want to go on a wide flank, it's not it can be very lucrative to do it, but it's not particularly it's not got a good sort of risk reward. Like, you can go out on a big wide flank on Fulda, you can go all the way around the edge of one of the maps, you know, the whole map area is usable. But you might see nobody. You might see literally nobody, or 1 or 2 tanks. You know, you could go on a massive wide flank of A. Cool, you flanked A. But you can't see people on B particularly easily. You know, you can't exploit Fulda too much. It does again, you know, with the spawns the way that they are, you spawn out in an open field. Once you're pushed to the spawn, or if someone manages to spawn camp, it becomes an issue. But overall, I'm a big fan of Fulda. Big fan. Italy goes in Oh Christ. It's just it's really nice. It's an aesthetically pleasing map, right? It looks lovely, but it's not. It's just there. I think Italy would be a lot better if it played north to south instead of east to west. It has good with the sort of the center of the map is kind of raised, obviously, because you have the cliffs on the western side, but the north, the east, the west, the north, the east, the south, even it's raised above sort of sea level or ground level. There's little valleys that you can use there, which are great to use if you're doing casts. You know, if you're doing casts or you're flying about the shop trying to shoot other fighters down, is great. It's great fun to fly around. But it's not a particularly fun map to sort of play purely from a tank point of view. I mean, on the certain like one caps and things like this on the battle mode, it's not. I mean, once you've got over to the other side of the, the opposite side of the city from where you spawn, it's not got anything going for it. Because, oh look, I'm looking into your spawn. You know, meh. Japan has got the lanes thing going on for it. Again, I mean, it's not quite as clearly defined, but you know, A, B, and C are separate cap zones, and you can definitely manipulate the terrain a lot more. I like the amount of micro terrain. I like the amount of just little bits and bobs and rocks that you can use to sort of obfuscate your... Obfuscate is a word, but I don't quite know what it means, so I'm going to not use that. Obscure. You can obscure, you know, your route, your movement. I like how Japan plays. I like how far away the planes spawn. I like the massive giant fucking volcano-ass mountain going on there. I'm going to pop that in A tier. Jungle, low tier map, is good fun, but I think it's a bit dated. Do you remember when there used to be a big boat beached on the North Shore? That was always fun, shooting that thing. I'm gonna pop that in C tier. I've not got much to say about it, to be honest. It's kind of like Frozen Pass, it just exists, but I like it more than Frozen Pass. I liked it when it was full of AI. When it was full of AI, it was a lot of fun. Karelia, is this controversial to say that it's just passable? I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of the way that you can sort of manipulate the map. I do it, obviously. I will use there's a position on the western side of the map that you can get access to really easily if you spawn on the north. I think you can only get up there if you spawn on the south if you're in like a super fast vehicle. I think maybe an R3 could get up there, but other than that, I think you'll get timed out by the zone if you try and drive up there in a tank. There's, you know, these little snipey positions. There's dumb hills that you can get camps on. You know, the southern team can get up on the hill to the south of their spawn and have shitty positioning to overlook the entire western side of the map. It exists. It's good. It's all right. It's all right, I suppose. It's there. 38th parallel. Korea. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. I go straight into tier because it's just fucking put it in the bin. Get rid of it. Volokholamsk. Volokholamsk, the small version, is good. It's good. It's brawly, you know, it's open. You feel very naked and vulnerable. Yeah, the small version of it I'm a fan of. I like the way that it plays. I'm going to put that in B tier. But Surroundings of Volokholamsk is surroundings of fucking nothing is happening. Oh my god. Where I haven't seen anyone for 10 minutes. That's going in oh Christ tier. It's not a good map. I'm not a fan. Like, it's just fucking lame. Kuban. Old Kuban used to be better. I haven't really played New Kuban because I haven't really played low tier in the time that it's existed, but I definitely liked the older version of it more than this version, so I'm going to put that in passable. Wallonia. I haven't really got much to say on Kuban, to be honest. Like, it was nice. The old one was nice, the new one's... Oh, Wallonia. Wallonia is what? It's just the other version of Ardennes, isn't it? Yeah, it's the smaller version, bigger version of Ardennes. I can't remember. See, I'll do. Yeah, no, Wallonia is the big fields version, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah? Yes? I think. Anyway, alright, we're grabbing both. That one was in A tier, so we'll put them next to each other, we'll talk about both of them. Because I can't remember which one's which! Probably should have checked beforehand, but never mind. It's the first time I've ever done one of these commentary videos and it's going to be shocking, isn't it? It's got to be shocking. The Fields version, which I'm going to pretend is Wallonia. I don't know if it is, but I'm going to pretend it is. Wallonia, I'm a fan of the fieldy version of the yellow map, put it that way. I like the way that it plays. You see it a lot at like 7.0, 8.0. I like it. I like it. I'm gonna pop it. Cass is good on there as well. White Rock goes straight into A tier because it's fucking devilishly bad. Not a fan at all. Kursk is passable. I think there's a lot of like, there's not a lot you can do. Kursk is just Kursk, isn't it? It's better now than it used to be, but it still just exists. Like, I'm never excited to play Kursk. I use it, if you saw my cast video, subtle plug. If you saw my cast video, I use it for cast practice because it's a nice open map that the tanks spawn in predictable places, and you know, things are nice to go bomb on Kursk because the ground is predictable and lovely and there's not a lot going on. But that's it, there's not a lot going on. You know, Kursk is just there. It just exists. Maginot. I like Maginot. I put it in the same sort of tier as Fulda, but I don't think it's as good as Fulda. It's got similar gameplay, but the hill out to the east of the map is you take that hill, you can then, you know, use it as a fulcrum to spawn kill. For both teams, right? It's easier for the southern team to get access to it, but for both teams, that eastern hill is the dominant terrain feature that is the fulcrum of the map. The town, I feel, is underused. I'd like to see, because it's big enough, right? It's big enough that you could just have like smaller tier, like, you know, there's plenty of these maps that have got small tier versions. Sansa Sinai is, not Sansa Sinai, Small Sinai is the one that comes most evidently to mind, right? Smaller version of a big map. If you just put Maginot on the sort of western side of the map, I guess, with if you narrowed the spawns in a little bit and you just use the western side with the city, I think people would enjoy that. I think that would be good gameplay for low tier, but driving across that thing in like a B1 or something chunky is not a good time. If I see someone spawning like a T28 or a T95, I weep for them. I wipe my eyes in sadness because fucking God bless you trying to drive across this map in something slow. It's just not good. It's alright. I like it. I like it at top tier, but it's not a good map for low tier. Middle East. Middle East is a map that was created solely for April Fools, and then everyone was like, hey, what a great map. We should totally have that all the time, except it's not a great map, and those people, you know, have made a big mistake. It's got so many like dumb spots that you can just, you know, knock someone in spawn from. There's, for the Eastern team, you can go up on those rocks and be pretty much unmurderable unless some cast gets access to you. Is it Oh Christ or Tia? I don't know. I'm gonna pop it in. Oh Christ, I reckon's a good place for it. So yeah, there's my exceptional tier maps: Poland, Novorossiysk, Abandoned Factory, Advanced Lorraine, Eastern Europe, and Fulda, I guess. Yeah, there we go. All of the music in this video is from Lakey Inspired. All the links are going to be down below. His lo-fi is good, is very good. Thank you, I guess, to iDubbbz for creating this sort of fucking tier jumbo messness, and thanks to Swede for building this. Thank you very much, Swede. Good boy. Brilliant. See you soon. See you on Twitch, I guess. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know. I mean, this is all subjective and personal opinion, so there we go. Have a good day, guys.